Oh, the computer spoke to me this time. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this last formal session of our virtual mission trip. We hope that there will be some stuff in the future, but we'll talk more about that later. I know everyone here. Everyone, I think, knows me except Errol. But Errol, hi. I'm Rob Lawton. I'm the Associate for Youth and Family Ministries at Trinity Southport. And just so glad to have everyone here. I'm going to start us out with a quick prayer. So the Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. O Holy Spirit, giver of light and life, impart to us thoughts better than our own thoughts, and prayers better than our own prayers, and powers better than our own powers, that we may spend and be spent in the ways of love and goodness, after the perfect image of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
So thank you again for joining us tonight. Just a quick rundown about what to expect tonight. This is mostly going to be an opportunity to talk about what this whole experience has been like for us. We're particularly going to focus in on the videos that Mother Lauren has been sharing with us. And we in turn, I'm going to share a couple of the videos that we've made along the way as well for everyone to see. And then we're going to give Mother Lauren a chance to sort of talk to us about what, or talk to us in the same way that she would to a mission group that was on site as they were getting ready to leave, about what whatever that is. So we look forward to hearing your words and your wisdom. But we're going to start by talking about some of the video that Mother Lauren has sent. And I have a question for you, Mother Lauren, just to get us started off. I was really fascinated by the video you shared of putting together the communion packets. I especially love the drop of wine in all of them. I thought that was like, I wish that was something we had considered. But I was just curious to know, like, how many of those do you make in every week? And do you, like, are you dropping them off to everyone that, you know, are members of the churches in your area? Or are you doing just sections each Sunday? Like, what are the logistics of the communion drop off?
I make about 200 at a time. And, you know, it's easy to put the drops of wine on. You know, I use a wooden chopstick and a little cap full of wine, like a and I make little patterns. I make it very interesting for me, and it doesn't take them long to dry. Well, when you got 150 wafers spread out on your cookie sheet, it's like, I'll go this way, and then I'm going to go this way, and then I'll make an X. You know, and putting them, getting them in those little plastic baggies while you're wearing gloves. Because the whole goal is to make sure that nobody has touched the host, right? Even though we know that there's no way that this is could spread coronavirus, this is the promise that we've made. And then we go through about 50 to 60 a week. We're back worshiping inside at Trinity in Mission and at Holy Innocents in Parmalee. And so we do that. And then I've just got a whole list of people who have said, we want you to come and bring us communion. And so, I mean, there are a lot of Sundays I don't get home till like 6 o'clock because a couple of them want me to come inside, and they're elders who have not been outside. And so they want to have a talk, and we'll sit and chat for a while. And it's like, oh my God, I'm never getting home. And some people, I don't go in their houses at all. And so we open the door and I hand them the communion. I drop some off. One of our grandmas, Judy, so if she can't make it, I'll drop off for her and I'll say, how many do you need? She goes, okay. And it depends on how many of the grandkids are with her. Mm-hmm. So there are some weeks when she takes like 8 or 9. I drop some off with folks in Parmalee, and they're not home, but I drop them off, and then they call me to do prayers. And because what I'm dropping them off, what I do is I say, so what would you like to pray for today? And so we do that, and we have a little talk, and then I give them the communion, and then we say the Lord's Prayer. So they'll call and ask for prayers, and we'll have prayers and a chit chat. Then they'll take the communion while I'm doing this by phone. And then we say the Lord's Prayer, and there have been a couple of weeks. When was it? I can't remember why, but a couple of times when they came down to my house and picked it up during the week and they got it all out by Sunday. So then on Sunday, I was just simply fielding phone calls all day. Was that when I had coronavirus? The second bout of, when I had the second bout of COVID, that's what we did. And so what it's done is it's made it possible for people to get communion. I have a friend in Virginia, and we were talking in November, and they had not been allowed to do anything at all. And she had not received communion since the beginning of March in 2020. And so when I mailed her Christmas gift, I mailed a wafer to her and her husband, who's Jewish, when they finally got it, because that was during the slowdown in the mail. When they finally got it, he opened it up and he says, well, do you want me to say the words? And she said, no. No. I called her once I knew it delivered. And I was like, so did you get the package? Did you open it? And she's like, yes. And so we did the same thing over the phone for her. And because we put that drop of blood on, of the wine on it, we can say the body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ, which is given for you. And because we went from March to July is when we started doing that, right?
Yeah.
So from March to, no, February, because we'd stopped the cup in February. Yeah. So from February to July, nobody got the cup at all. Nobody got the wine.
Yeah, that's fair.
And well, but we were doing we were still doing church on the go, but nobody got it. And then one of the priests in this diocese said, well, you know, a long time ago, one of the guys at seminary taught me this and I never thought I'd use it. And I was like, this is genius. So I called Earl and I said, what do you think about doing this? And people were so happy to have the blood as well as the body. And I tell them, see that little red dot? That's wine. It's all consecrated. And people are like, oh, God. So it's made a big difference here. So I've actually mailed out some more of them to other friends. I just haven't quite bothered to tell my bishop yet.
Yeah.
Well, this is a big question in the church. And my answer is you guys are overthinking this and you're over theologizing this. If I can get you communion and it's communion, if I'm supposed to feed you and I can get you communion, this is a decision that Errol and I made. As soon as we figured out we were going to have to shut down the churches. And it was Errol who said, well, you know, you do that ashes to go thing. Can't we do the same thing? And I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, let's call it church on the go. And we made a big poster and all of that. So we made a point of figuring out a safe way. Initially, you had to stay in your car and you would reach your hand out the window and I would reach my hand over. And that way we knew we had approximately 6 feet between us. And we're wearing full masks. I've done a couple of services with masks and face masks on when I did Ash Wednesday. And all of that. It was like, no, we're gonna get this out. And we have picked up a whole bunch of people who never come to church. They have never come to church in my tenure here. And they're like, Mother Lauren, can you bring a communion? Sure, tell me where you live. Okay, I'll be there. So it's because we proactively went out into the community and said, we are here for you still. This is still going to happen. It's just going to look really different. When we did Ash Wednesday, I went through 150 gloves because everybody got a fresh glove. And my colleagues, some of them used cotton swabs or ear swabs. And
Q-tips.
Q-tip, thank you. And I still have COVID brain some days. And, you know, from a distance, and I'm like, nope, my people want to feel my hand on their head. So it'd be like, I do Errol. And then it'd be like, put on another glove, Sandy. And so I had this huge pile. I had 150 gloves piled up in the floor of my car. And people line up for it. They love ashes. That's called ashes on the go. We do ashes to go outside the church. We do ashes on the go where I go to wherever you are. And then we do ashes in church. And people love that. And I wear a face mask and a face shield. So we just had to stretch ourselves a little bit and say, you know what, it's possible to do this and nobody's going to starve on our watch. We're just not going to allow that to happen. So.
I would think as to rules, whatever faith brings to the receiver is what's right.
Right, and that is it. But what we were striving to do was to make sure in the midst of all of our hardships here, the last thing we wanted to do was to deny communion to people. And to
Yeah.
say, no, we can't do that. You know, I know on the East Coast, you know, you guys got hit so hard and you were in such a tight lockdown. Well, from the very beginning, when we started our lockdowns, the tribal attorney general called me before they promulgated the rules and said, Mother Lauren, what do you need? And I said, I need to be out. And he happened to call me while I was delivering 20 cases or 20 bottles of jugs of Clorox and sanitizer. I had all these cleaning supplies. I was like, I'm in St. Francis right now. I'm delivering because nobody else is taking care of them. So I have to have a pass to get out and the people who work for me. So as a result, ministers were given the pass to be out so that we could take care of people. A lot of them didn't do very much, but we did. So we had a bunch of ministers who didn't want to go because they felt that they needed to protect themselves. And I'm like, I don't think that's what the vows said. So, you know, and Errol, for a long time, Errol did Trinity and people could go to Trinity to get their communion one at a time. And I was just going round and round and round, taking care of people. It's because we decided that as ministers, this is what we're called to do. So.
Yeah.
How did you guys like the Amber Waves of Grain?
Great.
I loved it. In fact, I had a question about it.
Yes.
At one point in that video, you said something like the earth is our relative.
Yeah.
And the land is and we say prayers of gratitude for the land to keep it green. I was just curious, like what prayers? I mean, and in what language? Can you just elaborate a little bit more about what you guys do? Or is it?
Okay. You never ask me what language I'm praying in because I pray in 7 or 8 of them because that's how my brain works. So that's not a fair question.
Okay.
No, in the Lakota culture, the earth is our relative. It's our mother. I mean, when we say that we are all related, Mitako Yayasin, we're not talking about just Errol and me or you guys. We're talking about all the four-leggeds, even including the damn, you know, all the spiders. Don't like, Iktomi and I don't get along. The snakes, the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, all of creation, the trees, the grass. It's a whole different experience to understand that creation was not given to us to be stewards. This is our relative. All of creation is related to us. And when you begin to understand that, it changes how you relate to creation. So we say prayers all the time of Thanksgiving when we get a big, heavy, wet snow. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt, but oh, Unchimacha needs this. Mother Earth needs this. When it's raining, no, we can't get everything mowed for Memorial Day because it's been pouring since 7 o'clock last night. But oh my God, we need this so much. But it's not we need it, it's Unchimacha needs it. It's our mother who needs watering. And so it's a very different understanding that I only gained by being here and serving here on the Rosebud and serving with Lakota who were patient enough to explain we are all related. It changes how you treat critters. It changes how you, everything you're doing, the impact that you're having on creation, because it ain't a thing. It's one of us.
Right. So that means then during morning prayer, you're praying for spiders?
Iktomi and I have a deal. If they stay out of my bed and they stay out of my bathroom, they can live. Unless they're wolf spiders and they come charging across the living room floor, in which case, because they'll do that. And in which case they make a journey and I say burial prayers for them. I'm better with snakes than I am with Iktomi, with the spiders. It's just who I
Mother Lauren, I'd like to go back to Mark's comment. I had the same reaction, and it's unfortunate that the church itself does not emphasize what Francis of Assisi did. There's such compatibility with what you're doing and Francis's approach and that Franciscan approach to spirituality, that we're all connected. We just don't have that emphasis, and it's wonderful.
Well, and here's the thing, I want you all to think about this, because I brought this up with you years ago. What would have happened if the first white people who came, instead of wanting to buy the land or take the land for themselves, because, you know, the natives were sitting here going, we can't sell the land. That's our mother. You don't sell your mother. But the white man was like, anything to do to get the land. And they're like, but you can't own the land. It's your relative. What would have had, how differently would have things gone if somebody could stand with one foot in each world and explain it to the other? Instead, it's, you know, when you look at it, the people who came, the immigrants who came from overseas were locked in a system, most of them, where they could never rise above their station in life. So if they were serfs, they could never rise above that. And there was no land to be bought anywhere in Europe. It was all controlled by monarchies. And you had no chance. And then you come to this world and you see all this land and people are saying it's free for the taking. Well, it's not free for the taking. The indigenous peoples have been here for tens of thousands of years. This is where the doctrine of discovery comes in and made that disaster. But when they came, the initial white people who came out to what is now the Dakotas, they were the French fur traders. And they never tried to take over the land. They were like, you have a fur, I have beads, come on, or whatever it was. And so it was a trading thing. And the French traders who came, there was no problem because the Lakota particularly are very hospitable. And they're like, ooh, you have a hatchet. I want that. Here, what do you want? Buffalo hide? Got it.
Yeah.
It was when people came and started demanding that they take and own what the Lakota are saying, you can't own your mother. You just cannot own your mother. You cannot sell your mother. But nobody wanted to listen.
Yeah.
It was a very similar relationship in, you know, what we now call Quebec and the Maritime provinces. The relationship between the French settlers who came over, it was much more based around a trading partnership as opposed to we're here and taken over. And that only changed when the English came as well.
Yeah, that was true of the Dutch in New York, the same deal.
Right.
And the Pequot suffered here with the English wanting to take over.
Right. So see, what you have to do though, is you have to stand back. This is the hard part of doing this. So you have to stand back. You have to look at it from the native standpoint, which was, we're going to share with you. Sure, we're going to share with you. That's who we are. And you have the immigrant standpoint, the European standpoint, right? And that standpoint is very different. It's like, no, we're going to buy this because we want to own it, because we have not been allowed to own land. You know, if you were a serf, you were basically a slave. And we want a better life for ourselves and for our children. So you have these two competing visions. And you have to stand back to look at it and to go, we could have done so much better.
Yep.
We didn't. So now what are we going to do to make it better?
It's incredible irony, just the way you phrase it, that in, you know, seeking to escape serfdom and essentially slavery, the oppressed became the oppressor.
Yeah.
It happens almost all the time. The oppressed tend to do that.
Yeah.
And it's because we're not learning our lessons of history.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
What do you
Children.
think's in the Middle East?
Oh,
Those are my people. I'm descended from Russian Jews. Those are my people.
Huh.
You know, so I'm one of those conflicted people too. And it's like we can make the world better, but we can only do that by studying history, standing back and trying to understand all the sides. If we can understand all the sides, then we can see where the mistakes were made, and then we cannot repeat the sins of our. And what's really important.
Oh, Lauren, you recommended that we read the Night Watchman.
Yeah, did you like it?
Yeah, yes, I did. It was very enlightening. An interesting writing style, though. Hard. I didn't realize that she was in fact an Indian and was speaking about her own tribe and her own people till
Talking-
the end, but she was it's an interesting, I would say it was an interesting writing style to try to take from it what her messages were.
It's got, she writes in more native thought. Errol doesn't know this book yet. This is a story about in the 50s when the United States Senate passed a bill that terminated all the tribes. Because, you know, just get over it. And it's told by the granddaughter, the man who ended up fighting it, who was a night watchman at a factory. And it's told in very much, it's very, they're not Lakota, but it's very much native thought. That's how the storytelling is done. It's very much native thought. And so you have scenes in this, those of you who haven't read it, you have scenes in it where there's a ghost. It's a boy who died at the boarding schools, and he shows up and he's talking to them, to the man who's fighting this termination act. And it's a perfectly normal thing in native thought.
And it seemed that they were the spirits, some of the Indian spirits. I equated the ghosts with spirits.
There
which
are,
the
they're
ancestors coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's a great book. Another good one is Firekeeper's Daughter, and that is based with the Ojibwe. And that is an excellent one as well. And then if you just want to hear about the ancestors and all, if you want to get a different take on ancestors, there's a book out now called Ghost Boy. Has nothing to do with natives, but Ghost Boy is about a young Black child who was shot and killed by a cop. And the other ghosts who show up, he's very present in the story, and the other ancestors who show up. And it's a fascinating, especially right now, this is a fascinating one. Emmett Till shows up.
Do
And
any of these remind you of Toni Morrison,
yeah,
beloved? Yeah.
yes, very much so. The thing about reading books that are written by people from cultures different from yours, reading a well-told story, is one, it allows you into a thought process, and two, it exposes you to what they're, you know, in this case, say the Lakota, are thinking about, and how they approach life. Whereas if you read a historical story about them that's written by a white man about the Lakota, you're going to miss all of the subtleties.
Right.
And so you have to be willing to open yourself up to understanding, okay, this is not the way I would write the story, but that's because I don't write that way. And so you just kind of open, it's rather like reading, oh, not Ulysses. Who wrote Ulysses?
James
James
Joyce.
And Rand.
No, James Joyce.
James Joyce.
What's the James Joyce one that's something about dreams of a young man or something like that?
No.
You don't mean.
Portrait of an artist as a young man.
Oh, yes, that is.
Portrait of an artist as a
Yeah.
young man.
That's it.
Portrait of an artist as a young man. Yep. Right
Oh
here.
my, try and read that when you're a teenager and you're like, what is this crap? Because and it's all stream of consciousness and you're sitting here going, huh? Isn't that make any, or like reading Dostoevsky, you know, you're going, huh?
Or Faulkner.
That makes sense. Until you
Holden
learn.
Caulfield is much better. Holden Caulfield is a much better character for a youngster to read.
Oh, yes. But well, that's the thing. You have to open yourself up to it. And to know that if you're going to hear a Lakota story, Lakota stories don't start here and go there. a well-told Lakota story starts here and it's gonna go this way and it's gonna go down here and it's gonna go over here. And it all ties in the end, but you have to get the entire picture. You have to understand the entire thing. So Joe Marshall's books are good for that.
So I had a very simple, stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. There was the whole video on fencing, the green stakes, and I was like, so what does this fence do? Is it trying to keep something out, or is it trying to keep something in? I really couldn't figure that out.
It's both. That is property that the church originally put there for Father Campbell, right? Father Luss? Where Sherry was living, the tan double one. It was originally clergy housing. And then over the years, the tribe has used it, and then it came back to the church again, and blah, blah, blah. And so it was used to house some of the mission, small mission teams. I'm talking 2, 3, 4 people, et cetera, et cetera. Well, now we're renting it out to a family. We wanted to keep out, when mission teams come back, they need to understand this is no longer a place you can go and hang out. This is private property now, because we've leased it to a family. And we wanted to keep in the 2-year-old toddler who, I mean, I'm certain you all remember how 2-year-olds kind of scoot. And we wanted to keep said child from scooting into a dangerous area. Plus, this is the family that is going to take Shadow, the German Shepherd that I took in last November.
Yeah.
They're the ones who wanted Shadow all along. And I said, you are not chaining up that dog. And you cannot let the dog run wild, because she'll run right to my house. So I talked to the diocese about it, and we agreed that we wanted to keep out people who should not be on that property. And we wanted to keep in the 2-year-old and Shadow.
Oh, the dog.
Yeah, because when I move in a couple of weeks, Shadow's going to stay down there. She will be a terrible city dog. She would need a much larger yard than I've got, and there's no place for me to turn her loose to run, whereas my dogs will be okay, because Yasa and Bella just want to be with me. And they'll adapt, and I will find some place to run them. But with Shadow, I'm terrified that she would get loose, and she doesn't know. She's so stupid. She's not a smart German Shepherd. She has run into my car driving up the dirt road, Beth, driving that road. She's run into my car like this while I'm moving, and she chases me to run into it. And I'm like, you are not the smartest cookie in that cookie jar, are you? So she would die. She would get hit by a car and die, and I can't take that chance. So she'll be okay down there, and she's going to have kids to play with. So, but that's why we were doing the fence. It's just one of the many projects that we do. I know it's like, what are you sending me a video on a fence? It's the kind of stuff that we do.
Well,
if you
the first project
Wall would have built that fence.
One of the first projects we had was painting a fence at the women's shelter.
That's right.
You gave a very poignant speech on why we were painting the fence. And it was so that when the women in the shelter came out, they saw something good. They saw something noble and proper, and that would help them in their healing and in their growth.
Right. That is always the purpose of what we're doing. But without mission teams, we're kind of scaled back. And so it's like, okay, you guys build this fence, and then they've done a bunch of other projects. Right now, the guys are working on my house. I've hired them to work on my house that I'm moving into. And then after I move out, they'll be working on the rectory, because there's some work that needs to be done there. And so we want to get it done before we find a new person to move in, et cetera, et cetera. So, but that's why you got that video. It's like, well, this is what we're out doing.
It was an interesting choice, though, because I think some of the other videos suggest that it's like there's a vast open space, these vistas of the prairie and everything, and that the mentality is kind of like this huge expansion. And so I was like, well, I wonder what the role of a fence is in this world.
Exactly, that keeps some people out, because we've got people who have stayed in that double wide trailer. And to this day, I mean, I just got an email last week, the people from Minnesota, Dorothy's friends,
Mhm.
they're like, so can we come out and stay? I'm like, no. You can't. We've leased it out to a family, but we can stay there. No, there's a family in there.
Right.
It's like, very much this idea of privilege. And then they're like, well, we'll stay in Barber Hall. And I said, no, that's an isolation center for COVID patients. No. I was like, you can't come out. I'm sorry. You cannot, you can stay in a hotel down in Valentine, but you cannot stay on the hair center. That's all there is to it. But they presume that since they've been there before, they can just have what they want. And it's like, I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. So the other question I had that was very down to earth, sorry to be asking my questions, but I'll stop. I mean, a massive effort to chop wood, but what is the wood burnt in? Is it used, it's used for heating, but it's also used for cooking? I mean, it's like there are Franklin stoves in homes that, potbelly stoves. What is the,
Well, they
what
have
does
wood
wood go
stoves.
into?
They have wood stoves. Most of the wood is used in wood stoves. I don't know if it's a Franklin wood stove because I'm not certain what that is. I'm looking it up. So if I can see a picture, but a lot of the housing here has small wood stoves. I have a giant wood stove in my
Right.
house. Oh, no, well, except we don't have the glass. We don't have
I
that.
got mine like that.
Is yours like that? Okay, so
Similar.
this is what, I don't know, can you all see that?
Oh,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What Errol has.
Mhm.
Most of them, though, don't have the glass door.
right.
And we're very specific, we can only cut them 18 inches wide.
Right.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah,
like a potbelly stove,
But they have a draft control.
right.
Some of them.
And can you cook on it?
Some of them you can and some of them you can't.
Okay.
You know, some people have it like this and you can cook on this one.
Yeah.
And some of them have that, but, and the grandmas a lot of the grandmas do their cooking on it.
Like a regular.
And some, yeah. Errol and I are going through photos real fast. Yeah, there's not too many like that. They're just wood stoves. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. They're just wood stoves and they use it to heat the house and they use it to, cook on.
Yeah. It's not like fireplaces, which is in.
No, they're not fireplaces.
Yeah.
These are stoves. They're not a fireplace. This is very clearly a stove. And it's for heating the house. I know I have a blower on mine, but I've got an extraordinarily large one. I don't know why, I just do. It came with the house. And then a lot of people a lot of the grandmas cook on it as well.
Yeah.
You know, that's what, and they simply need the wood. So ours is always 18 inches. It's never more than 18 inches in length because longer than that will not fit in the stove.
Right. That's stove wood.
Yeah. And sometimes when we have other people cutting, mission teams or people who have fireplaces at home, they're determined to do it like 2 feet long and real big around. And I'm like, no. That's not what I want you to do. This is not how you manage a stove well here. 18 inches, so it'll fit in, and I don't want them this big around. They want smaller pieces so they can manage it and stretch it out.
Yep.
And control the heat. So.
I suppose in a way that's another kind of privilege showing its head because, for us, when we think of burning wood, we're just trying to heat up a room. And it's usually more ambiance than practical at this point.
Yeah.
I've never had to think about having wood in such a size because I need to manage it to manage temperature for cooking or something else. So it's interesting thinking about all the ways that privilege shows itself. I wouldn't have thought that chopping wood was one, but here I've learned something.
And when we have teams out, Beth will tell you this, when we have the teams out and we're teaching them how to cut wood, we tell them all these stories. And we
Right.
tell You know, you all can go home and, okay, you live in Connecticut, you get cold winters. So when you get cold, really cold in your house, most of you are able to go and turn the heat up. My people are not capable of doing that, okay? Because they can't afford the electric bill or the propane bill. So what I want you to do is every time you turn that heat up even 1 degree, I want you to think of the grandmas and the babies you are keeping alive during an extremely cold winter because of the work you're doing here now. And then we would bring some of that, we'd either deliver wood to some of the grandmas or we would bring some of the grandmas over to meet with them so that they could put a face to it and say, you need to know, this is who you know, these aren't fireplaces for entertainment. We need this to stay alive. I just got a call, today's May 27th, I think. And we just got a call a little while ago because 2 days ago, I think it was it was 75. And today the high temperature was 46 and it started raining at 7 o'clock last night. And it pretty much hasn't stopped. And one of my elders called because she needed firewood. So Errol and I are here in Piers. So what I did is I texted to Bruce, who's down on the res, among other things, babysitting my doggies. And I said, can you do this? And he took wood over to her because she is freezing right now. And it's a cold, damp, chill. And she needed wood. And it's like, Bruce, can you go take care of Winifred for me, please? And he was like, I'm on it. And so he took the wood over. So now Winifred will not be cold tonight. And she's like, I don't know, late 70s, early 80s, tiny little woman. She doesn't have very much meat on her bones. And so when it gets cold, you know, she feels it just like goes through her. And so we just want to take care of her. She's one of our sweethearts. This is the wood cutting we do is life or death for people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mother Lauren, I've read about the 500 buffalo were being, yes, could you talk about that at I think it's the Wolacota Buffalo Range, is it? No.
This is a fascinating thing. We've had buffalo here for years and years. So when they're talking about, I keep reading these stories saying the first buffalo are being restored to the Rosebud. It's like, could have fooled the other 2,000 who live here. These 500 have a purer strain. What we're trying to do is return the bison, the American bison strain, and to a purer strain of it, because they're mixed bloods is what we've got. And the Lakota are the ones who want to restore the American bison to the primacy it should have. And so these 500 came from, I think, Yellowstone, maybe? I think they came from Yellowstone. And so it's introducing some new blood into it. But we've had Tatanka here, I mean, for years and years. And so it's like, but we are the ones who are the keepers of it, because for the Lakota, the Tatanka are holy and necessary in the creation story and necessary for survival.
Right.
So, but it's not like we haven't had them here. If they were, I wouldn't be quite so allergic to South Dakota, because I am allergic to buffalo manure dust and cow manure dust.
Oh dear.
I have at least 60,000 head right around me and 2,000 head of buffalo. And people are like, well, you should move. I'm like, and where the hell am I going to move to? You know, we're curious to see what it's like here being based in Pier instead of being based on the Rosebud, because how can I say there's an awful lot of manure dust out there? We're an agricultural state.
So Pierre is where you will be going when you move?
Pier.
Oh, Pierre.
I know exactly how it's spelled, but we don't say it that way.
Okay,
Pier, yes.
but that is where you're going. Now, how large a city is that?
13,748 people, according to the last year's figures.
Woofa.
I know, I had to look that up the other day. That's how I know the number. It's a small state capital. That's all there is to it. It is the state capital, but it's small. It's on the Missouri River. And, you know, I don't have a problem with it because I can get sushi here.
Yes. And espresso.
And espresso. We have a caribou coffee. So I can get sushi and caribou coffee. I've made best friends with the owner of a tiny little Mexican restaurant, and he is Mexican. So Antonio and I are now like this. And there's Walmart.
And the state archives are in Pier.
And the state archives are in Pier too. Not high on my list at the moment, dear, but they are there. You know, for me, it's a step up on some things. I don't have to drive 200 miles round trip to get Walmart stuff. I just don't. So. My needs are simple. Sushi.
And coffee.
My coffee person down in Mission who roasts my Kenyan AA Gold to a light roast, thank you very much. She has agreed to continue supplying me. And she says, oh, I come up here often enough, I'll just bring it. Because I can always freeze it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. We've started coffee wars in the office. It's like, no, we're drinking Kenyan AA Gold, and the canon for finance, who was also a missionary in Haiti, is like, but we can drink Haitian. And I'm like, bring it on, boy. We're both bribing the bishop. So let's see, what are some of the other videos I sent you that stand out?
The dropping off of the meals to different families, that's the one that comes to mind as well. Yeah.
500,000 meals since March of 2020.
It's wonderful.
Because we did not limit it to the students who were enrolled. We limited it to 0 to 18. It had to be Todd County only. So we couldn't go up to Norris and all, because that's a different county. And the money comes through the feds for the county system, but they had their money. And so they did their feeding up there. But yeah, 500,000 meals.
Wow.
Yeah. And every day we brought them lunch for that day and breakfast for the next day. And they got milk every day. Sometimes 2, sometimes white, sometimes chocolate. It was a very big deal. The milk became a huge issue. And sometimes it was meals they could heat up, you know, that they could mic, because remember, we're talking kids. So, and sometimes it was sandwiches. Breakfast almost always was a breakfast container thing that had cereal and milk and I don't know, some other breakfast treats in it. We made sure the kids got treats every day, things like that. And so all the kids had to do was go to the distribution center and pick it up. A lot of times the parents would go through, and we had a list of their names, and you know, you would go in, you just give the name, I'm picking up for these 6 kids. And so we wanted to make sure that they did not starve, because 98.5% of the children in our schools qualify for both breakfast, free breakfast and free lunch from the federal government. So when we started it in March, we just decided to do it. And the school director, the school business manager for the district, he called a bunch of us in on a Tuesday and he said, listen, this is our plan. He had been told on Sunday night to come up with a plan and make it happen. So he got a hold of a bunch of us and said, can you make this happen? And, you know, with the deliveries and all. And then he admitted finally, he said, I need you to know, I do not have the permission of the federal government to use my money this way. And so I went to him afterwards and I said, Chad, if you need anything signed, anything at all, you just give it to me, I'll sign it. And he looked at me and I said, I don't care if we're bald-faced lying to the feds.
Right.
I will put my name on that piece of paper.
All the more motivation.
I will back you up. And we didn't actually get permission from the feds to do it until the end of April. But we had started in March. We were like, we don't care. We're doing this 5,000 meals a day. And if you guys want to come and arrest us, you can. There's going to be an awful lot of people to arrest. But I just told him, I said, I'll back anything you do, anything you say. I'm not letting the babies starve. Yeah. Just because we didn't jump through hoops. And the federal government wasn't prepared. They didn't know what to do either. And so it's like, well, we know. So why don't you just do what we're doing? And it's of course all legal. So we did survive the audit on it, so that was good. But at first we just said, you know, we have to feed the babies. We were more concerned about that than getting them their education. Because it's nutrition, food access is
Then
critical. And education, my answer, I agree with I'm certain some of you have seen the memes on Facebook from former refugees who have said, you know, I spent 4 years in a refugee camp in the middle of a war, and I just earned my PhD. Your children are going to be fine. It's okay. Their lives are more important than so-called second grade education or ninth grade education. They can catch up, but not if they're dead.
Mhm.
And that's what our answer has been. And people have been pushing all along to reopen the schools. And it's like, no, we are not doing this until it is safe. And we just decided today that in August, we are indeed reopening our schools. We are believing that we will be safe enough by then.
Good, yeah.
But we have an outbreak and boom, they're shutting down.
Right.
That's all there is to it. We're not taking any chances.
You've talked about how so many of the, was it 95% of people who were eligible have been vaccinated? And I'm wondering, no?
No, those numbers have gone down.
Oh,
A lot of people who got shot number 1 refused to get shot number 2 because they had a reaction. A lot of the propaganda has come out. The government or the tribal council is telling us that only 22% of us are actually fully vaccinated.
Gee,
Yeah, it's people have hit that point. A lot of the teenagers are rebelling. Obviously not my teenagers. They don't trust big pharma. I'm like, you understand how many vaccines you had in your life just to go to school? And they're like, yeah, well, we didn't have a choice. Now I have a choice and I'm not going to do it. It's like, wow, that's really taking care of the Oyate very well.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
impressed. So now there's a question as to whether we can even have the Rosebud Fair in Wachipi.
Oh,
Well, the tribal government wants 70% vaccination rate, and we have slowed down. The state is at 46% fully vaccinated, and we're not. We're just not. And this is a big dilemma. And I've gone to the tribal president numerous times to say, I think, you know, we could do this, we could do this. And he said yes, but he's never followed up. And so
Mhm.
that's a shame.
if I have to come back down to the Rosebud to do some of the things that I recommended, you know, to participate in it, I will. I'm not abandoning. I'm not abandoning my people. So.
Wow.
So Rob, do we have videos to share with Lauren?
Yes, I was just trying to figure out how to make the segue from that.
Oh, okay.
Perfect
Kind of heavy topic into sharing our own videos, but we were just talking about the importance of feeding people, and as it so happens, you know, we engaged in a handful of food-related service projects over the last couple of weeks, and I've got 3 videos that Stephen Stout and Thomas Benton, who are both very active on our outreach committee, helped put together. Some of you are going to see yourselves in these. I hope that's all right. So just give me one moment here while I set up the screen sharing. So this first one is regarding the bread ministry that we participate in. And I'll ask everyone just to mute themselves just for the next couple of seconds.
there's a local supermarket that has been very generous with us and let us collect bread from them before we open the food pantry.
Why do I deliver the bread? Me feel good, but more importantly, I think from a practical sense, I'm actually doing something. And so it's beyond a feeling, it's being able to achieve something.
Delivering bread twice a month is one of the best things you can do, not only for the people who receive it, who need it, but also for yourself. It just makes you feel good.
I never go without learning something from them.
So Sheila, since you're featured in that video, I wonder if you might just tell us a little bit about how this arrangement, if you know, came to be, and just a little bit of background, just a minute or two.
I'll be quick. There is a local food chain that was approached by Trinity, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 20 years ago. It's been going on for quite a long time. And it was asked whether or not they could give us bread that they didn't sell. So they've been wonderfully generous with us. And I think it's meant a lot to the people who work there to know where it's going. We did make a change recently. Many of the people that we deliver bread to at this food pantry that two food pantries that we've been supporting for more decades. But they have diabetes. It's an epidemic. So we've had to insist that we take bread, but not all the lavishly decorated cakes and so forth. We're trying on the food that we give to them and that we get for them to have food that they will both enjoy, that will be consistent with their culture, and that will also be healthy. Their culture, actually, that was healthy food. I think the diabetes is from being here and just seeing too many ads for processed food. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. So another organization we work with regularly is called Operation Hope, which is just based out of Fairfield here. And one of the things we do is prepare a meal. I think it's once a month for people who come through their doors looking for a place to rest and a good meal.
And we also do the major holidays for them too. I mean,
right.
We'll cook, a meal for one of us. We'll each do maybe 50 or 70 people, and then we take it there hot and they give it out. It's a wonderful, wonderful operation.
Yeah. So this last Saturday, some of us got together and prepared a meal for about 50 folks. And so here is just a little reflection on that.
Hey, Mother Lauren and Rosebud residents. My name is David Nussel. We spent a little 1 hour or so grilling chicken to feed a Operation Hope with a neighborhood homeless shelter. I like to cook. Chicken smells good, and I'm very pleased to do it. My greetings to all of you. Bye.
Hi, I'm Rob Lawton. I'm the Associate for Youth and Family Ministries at Trinity Southport Church. And it's just been a great afternoon today working with our outreach committee preparing a meal for Operation Hope, which is one of the groups we support here. And just thinking more about, not just what are the ways we can help, but what are the ways that we can help the larger systems that make this kind of outreach necessary, and what can we do to combat things both on the ground level and at the more sky high level. So it's been great hanging out with all these folks. Glad to be here, and I'm jealous that I don't get to enjoy this meal.
Hi there, I'm Eileen Weber, co-chair of the Outreach Committee here at Trinity Episcopal Church in Southport, Connecticut. We've just made a big meal for 50 people, as you can see. And with any luck, they'll like every bite of it. It's something that we do quite often here at Trinity. It's something pre-pandemic that we were doing monthly, making suppers for about 50 people each time. And we're hoping to get back to that post-pandemic.
I'm sorry for some of the audio visual syncing issues. My computer is struggling tonight. So that's a look at the meal we prepared for Operation Hope. And I've got one more. So in addition to those two, I've just been told my internet connection is unstable, so that could be part of it. Another thing we do regularly is do grocery shopping for, I believe it's St. Luke, St. Paul's food pantry, or is it St. John's, Sheila?
Well, it's actually both.
Okay. So.
And if we all click our video off, it'll help him stream.
Be very quick. So one more video.
Hi there, I'm Beth. I'm here at BJ's with my crew, and I just helped do some shopping. I served as the accountant to make sure we got the budget, and it was great. I'm so glad to be able to choose food and to share nutrition with folks in the area. Hope to see you all soon.
Hi, I'm Judy, and this is what we selected. We spent a Saturday morning. What a great way to spend a Saturday morning with our friends Mark and Stephen and Beth, and we picked out yummy, yummy food, and lots of it, as you can see, and we're so happy to do this. Hi, it's Mark, and we just went to BJ's to purchase $300 of non-perishable food. It was an interesting selection process, trying to figure out what to buy. My job was to manage the coupons. And I can actually tell you that I have a completely new relationship with food as a result of this experience.
There we are. So those are, just a small look into some of the.
We're missing Stephen in that. Stephen Stout was the videographer.
Yes. Yeah. I asked Stephen if he wanted to be recorded, and he flatly denied me. So yeah. It is about 10 after, and there's a couple of things that we still want to get through tonight, and Mother Lauren and Errol have another commitment that they've postponed already generously to share with us. So I'm going to push through our agenda, but this is my last ask for folks who have been participating in this process, this virtual mission process, that if you've got any thoughts about what this trip was like for you, if you could just send me a couple seconds of video. I'm going to put together a supercut of clips from these evenings, those videos we've just watched, and also our own personal reflections. Put those together to share with Mother Lauren so that she can share that with her community. So thank you in advance. I would like to now turn it over to Mother Lauren, just for whatever her sort of closing words are to mission groups who come and visit in person. And then there's a couple of things afterwards that we need you to stick around for, Mother Lauren. So bear that in mind.
Okay. Right, when we're getting ready to send people home, well, we tell them what I basically do is I tell you, one, we are grateful that you were willing to come and to begin a relationship, because this is all about relationships. Any work you did is gravy. What we really want is to establish relationships and to establish understanding. Two, remember to learn history from the loser's side. Okay, that's really, really important. So in our case, you know, here on the Rosebud, what we always say, learn the history from the Lakota side, and your eyes will be opened. 3, don't repeat the sins of the fathers. Don't. So now that we've explained to you everything about Mount Rushmore, and now that I've gotten all of your teenagers really pissed off and they're going, oh my God, this is the most worst thing that's ever happened. Blah, 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 blah. They all come back to the script doing this. Blah, 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 blah. I say to them, okay, listen, 1, don't repeat the sins of your father. So don't ever attempt to do this without talking to the people who are there first, okay? But 2, learn to stand with 1 foot in each world, because you cannot condemn the 4 presidents who are up on Mount Rushmore. I mean, yes, they did some bad things, but they did some fabulous things too. And you're Americans, and you need to remember this. You are citizens of this country. And if it hadn't been for these particular 4 presidents, I'm not clear what kind of country we would have had. So don't discard them offhand, because they didn't ask to have their faces carved into Mount Rushmore. I mean, they were all long gone. So remember that. Go be a radical advocate. That's what you need to do. None of us, with the exclusion of Errol, none of us are native. But as we learn more, we can become allies and we can become advocates. So until last summer, summer of 2020, one of the things I always told the kids, was like, listen, the name of the Washington National Football League team has got to frickin' go. This is an insulting name, and it is, you know, it comes from 1743. It comes from the edict by the governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony to wipe out all of the natives in the colony, and you only got paid if you brought in the bloody red scalp. That's where the name comes from. Okay, we cannot have it. It's a derogatory name. So you're going to get on Facebook, you're going to get on all your social media, and you are going to work to get this name changed. Well, it's happened. And now they're known as the Washington football team. They still haven't chosen a name yet, and that's just fine with me. But I've also had some of those kids then go home and contact me and say, hey, listen, the name of our mascot at our school is a racist name. And they have worked, and in 3 cases, they have gotten the names changed because they had come to the Rosebud. So I tell them, you go be little radicals. Jesus was a radical. So go be a little radical out there and change the world to make it better. If you do not like what your forefathers have done to natives in this country, then not only don't do it yourself, go make it better. Go make the world better. And so I just send them home to become little radicals, right, Beth? I mean, I just radicalize those children. You give me your children, they'll be transformed forever. I get letters back from parents saying, could you tell me who this child is? Because it's not the child I sent out to you. This is not the same child. And it's like, no, it's not. It's not. You know, she was supposed to be transformed by this. So advocate, support, partner with us. Learn our story, pay attention to us, and help tell the story. Because people don't pay attention to natives in this country. They just don't. Hell, most people don't think there are any natives left in this country. And so that's the speech. And it's like, go home, be radicals, change the world, make it better. That's your job. And so that's what I told them. So it's what I tell you guys. Go change, make it better.
It's a wonderful speech. Thank you for sharing it with us. We're all safe in our homes instead of there on the reservation with you. But it is our hope at Trinity that even though I won't be here and you won't be on the Rosebud Reservation, that we can continue this partnership, this relationship, and that we can be there next summer in 2022. So perhaps not here, but Mother Lauren, you and I can touch base just a little bit about how to make sure this relationship continues, even though you and I will not be in our respective places. But I think it's important to everyone on this call that this relationship continue.
It really is. You all are an important part of who our partners are. And as a matter of fact, I've been holding you all up, working with the bishop as we're developing diocesan partnerships and explaining No, don't come to the mission. Don't come to one of the reses and partner with just one of the churches. You know, that's just going to cause problems. You partner with the mission of the, you know, the Rosebud Episcopal Mission, with the Cheyenne River Episcopal Mission, with the Pine Ridge Episcopal Mission, and expose your partners to everybody. And you can work it out. It can be worked out. And he was like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah. I mean, you know, let's talk about, okay, the ones I'm doing this mission trip with online. Yeah, Trinity Southport, we talk about it." And, you know, he was there. He knows who you are. You know, we stole our bishop from you, right?
Oh, that's
right
funny.
out from under your noses.
Yeah.
Just grabbed him. Yeah, the night he was elected, I talked to Bishop Ian and I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for stealing him." Not. It helps that Ian and I have known each other for 20 years. But he knows who you are. And I was like, no, there are ways to do this. And Trinity Southport is one of our partners that we can use and hold up as an example of how this can be done. So yeah, we expect to see you out here next summer, and I expect to spend some time down, you know, when y'all come and when some others come. I expect to come back to visit with you. I may not get to spend the week with you. We'll have a new priest by then. I'm promising you, Errol. If I have to go and steal a priest somewhere and hog tie him, you'll have a priest. Part of my new job is to find the new clergy.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just going to go and hog tie somebody and drag them down. No, Errol, they really want to be here. Don't worry. Just don't cut them loose for a while.
I'm going to turn it to Mark now to just talk about a presentation we'd like to make.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first thing I want to do is thank a bunch of people who are actually on this Zoom for helping to organize this wonderful adventure with you, Mother Lauren. I need to start with Rob, who's been actually shepherding us through a series of multiple program initiatives that are all focused on anti-racism, this being the last of the one that he'll be doing with us before he takes his leave. And Rob has been just fantastic at pushing and pulling us through discussions that we needed to have. So Rob, thank you so much for leading us in this way to this moment. And Sealy recognized very early on when we came to the conclusion that we wanted to try to do the virtual mission trip, that it was going to be an undertaking that none of us had a clue was going to be complicated, and that we really needed a project manager who would be able to keep us all on task and put together you know, a sort of a list of tasks and assign them and then make sure that we do them. And so Sealy has been wonderful at keeping us organized, and the two, Rob and Sealy together, have just been a joy to watch. And we've had a lot of laughs with them.
And at us, let's be clear, and at us, laugh at us.
But it's been great fun. And Stephen isn't on the phone, but we have to thank him for organizing these service projects that we undertook. And Sheila and Harry have been just great thought partners in planning all this. And of course, Beth and David and Judy have been wonderful companions on this journey. So thank you all for your participation in this. We also don't have with us tonight, I thought we might, the funder who actually provided a considerable amount of funding for the spiritual center last December, which we have been using for a series of programs, this being one of them. And so I just have to thank Joni for her support for the center, and then her additional support of this particular initiative. She's been a huge funder for the Pine Ridge Reservation through the years, I now understand. And so it was important for us that we maintain this relationship and build it. And so I'm so grateful that we've had the opportunity to do that because of her. And Mother Lauren, I mean, I don't even know how we say thank you to you, because this has been just such in so many ways, an eye opener. I mean, I never will actually understand our own history the same way because of the conversations that we've had. And But I think the thing that probably will stick with me and have some lasting impact is really the passion that you have demonstrated to us for the people that you serve. And it's been truly a joy to watch you on these Zooms and see the joy that that you have in playing this role. And it's been great for us to actually be able to be a part of that. And I think that you said somewhere in one of the videos that we need to understand that the extra things we can do to take care of each other are really important. And I mean, I think that's a fundamental lesson that that you've given us. So thank you for that. Anyway, we want to honor the extraordinary work that you've been doing at Rosebud and the time that you've spent with us by presenting you with a check for $3,500, which will be sent to you. Rob has it there in his hand for Rosebud. And it's for whatever purpose you think is most fitting for Rosebud. But we really can't thank you enough for this.
Good arrow.
Hoping, I mean, it's a secret wish, but that some of our other conversations about doing the creation story and, and maybe getting Sage out to Connecticut or doing it by Zoom, learning some the sacred dances, or maybe someday when COVID permits, being able to observe a powwow. We're hoping that all those things might also happen.
Right.
If the spirit moves us. And I think it will. Keep going.
And continue that. That is a very generous gift. And what it's going to do is enable the Rosebud Episcopal Mission to continue to care for people and to continue to help the churches. Because we've had an awful lot of people who have been furloughed, people who, the money is really tight. And some of the churches aren't meeting. So to even get money to pay the stupid light bill, just to pay the light bill. And so that means that we can take care of the churches and we can continue to feed people and continue to help people. That is fabulous, because that's what all of that money is going to go for. The propane program and some of it will go into the firewood, but we've got some funds that we've got some funds that I've set aside for that, to take care of the firewood, but we'll continue to have that. And then God willing, we'll get another grant from the tribe that will do the rest of the firewood. But it's all going to be about feeding people and keeping the churches going, because we're a symbol of hope and of a future. And if anything happens to the churches, then people will decide there is no hope and there is no future. And so that's what you're doing. You're giving the people here hope and a future to look forward to. And so we are so grateful for that. So thank you.
Well, we are so grateful to you for making the time for this experiment and just getting to spend this time with you this last 6 weeks, month and a half. Yeah.
What we can do too is we can set up a time to do the creation story. It's up 45 minutes or so, right, Beth? And we can do that. However, that is one that I would ask you not to record. Okay, because that would be kind of crossing a line I don't want to cross, but I can do that for you. You can gather some people and we can look at some dates after June 15th. I'm still trying to work with Sage, but he's so caught up. They just finished the school year last Friday. So, and because, he's doing the independent total Lakota immersion school. It was like, maybe I ought to just let you do this. We'll get it done, but I can still try and set something up like that with Sage.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That would be wonderful. So yeah. So these are some of the things that we hope to be able to offer later this summer. So just everyone keep your ears peeled for more information. Mother Lauren, I just want to thank you again for willing to jump into this with us. And before you go, I was wondering if you would offer a final prayer and blessing for us all.
All right. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. You ready to do that? All right, so Errol and I are going to begin this prayer with the doxology. Atea pichint kukin, naoni awachankiem, wachantanka wajinaki, eoita Yanuwe. Amen. Gracious God and Heavenly Father, Tonkashila, Wachantanka, Ateyapi. By all the names we call you and in all the ways we know you, we humbly ask that you send your Spirit upon us to fill us with your love, to surround us with your peace, to hold us in your joy, to send us into the world to make a difference so that through you, in you, by you, and with you, we are bringing the world closer to you. Help us to always know that there is always a way to get it done, even if it's not what we planned. And help us to know that you will bless us as we honor you. And that when our time comes, we will be with you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 So that doxology was sung at Trinity Mission speed. Some of the other churches sing it a lot faster. And I have to remember where I am so that I sing it at the right speed. I sang it at Trinity speed at Church of Jesus one day. You would have thought I rewrote the whole damn thing. And I was like, it's the same words, it's the same music. I just did it a little slower. So, blessings to you, my friends. Errol and I have to go driving, and because we got to get back in time to do Compline, which I've already delayed from 9 to 9:30. So it's like, oh, but we may have to end up doing Compline from the car.
All right.
You know, some days you just got to do what you got to do. This
Okay,
has been.
bye, everyone. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, Earl. Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Laura.
And
Bye.
Very much.
blessings to all of you.
Blessings to you.
And to
Thank
you.
you.
And to you.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Trinity people.
Night.
Good night, Nestle family.
Good night.
Night, John Boy.
You. And you, Celie. Good night. And Beth and Harry and Maria.
Good night, all.
Night.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, do we want to say anything while they're all gone?